Hello, in today's video we're going to be doing something that most of us have to do quite a lot in the RC community, and that's repairing a model. At some point in your life, probably quite often, there'll be a period of time where your pride and joy will smack into the ground like a dart and will do a lot of damage to it. I had such an incident occur just over 4 weeks ago now with my Specter700. I was flying really nicely on a nice calm day and it decided to nosedive into the ground. To this day I still don't know what it was that caused it, whether it was radio interference or whether I just dumb-thumbed it. But the impact was quite substantial. I was able to repair most of the airframe, but the one thing that got quite a bit of damage was the canopy. And in today's video we're going to be looking at how you can rebuild a canopy using everyday materials and to do it as cheaply as possible. Welcome to RC Heli Check UK. This is my Specter700 canopy, and as you can see it's a little worse for wear. Now, although it looks not that bad and in one piece, not long ago before I decided to make this video it wasn't. It was in bits. And now I don't know if you can see all this here, all around here, all the fiberglass, all the gel coats all come off, all down here was all split, and then here there's part of it missing. All this was all broken away, it was all split around here and completely broken away. All this was all broken and cracked and damaged, as you can see. But at the moment, as it stands, it's relatively back in shape. And how I got away with doing that is you literally, fiberglass, one of the things that's good about fiberglass is that it becomes very sort of like, it's hard to explain. Anybody else that's ever had a crash with a fiberglass canopy, they'll know what I'm on about. But the fibres where it's torn or broken stick out quite a bit, and these are beneficial for when it comes to repairing something like this, because what you can do is you can literally stitch the aircraft back together using just normal thin super glue, cyanoacrylate, CA, and activator. And what it tends to do, if you can hold the pieces in place, and what I like try to do, because if you don't, your fingers end up being a permanent resident on the canopy, which you don't want because it's not a good idea. Usually ends up in a visit to the hospital and having your fingertips removed. But if you can get inside and stitch most of the parts together, although you can't see it now because I've took it off, if you put tape over where the actual damaged piece is to hold it roughly in place, you can then come back with your super glue, and where the bits of fibres that stick out are, you can stitch them back together using super glue, and it soaks into the fibres of the fiberglass and holds them together. And then it's literally a case of going around the whole airframe where it's all broken and doing all that until you've got your canopy back in shape. Now, although it's not too bad strength wise, there's still a risk of it from cracking. So the way that you get away with that is by literally refiberglassing the inside of the area that was broken, okay? Or you can get micropore tape. It's like a paper type of tape that's used in the medical industry, and if you put that over all the cracks, you can then pour super glue into it and smear it all over the tape and hit it with activator, and it acts like a catalyst and goes hard, and that helps keep the stiffness in the actual canopy itself. So that's another way of getting around it, either that or just refiberglass on the inside. Now once that's done, you've got your basic airframe, or should I say in this case, your basic canopy shape back, but you've still got all this kind of issue. And what we've got here is where the gel coat and the fiberglass has come apart and come away, and it cracks and it just splinters off, and trying to get that replaced is quite difficult. So what I use is a lightweight filler. Literally it's a lightweight filler. It's one of those tubs of filler, when you pick it up it feels like it's empty, but if you use a lightweight filler and go over the whole of this, you can then fill all these gaps in and smooth it all off. Where there's holes, all you need to do with something like that, when you fiberglass the back, is either get a piece of plastic card or just a piece of balsa wood or anything just to put behind where the hole is, and then you can fill over the top of it again with this lightweight filler. Now the lightweight filler takes probably about 15-20 minutes to go off, but if you leave it for an hour or so it goes off quite hard, and then you can sand it all down, sand it all smooth, and get everything looking really nice again. And I'm going to show you how to do that, and then once that's done we'll go into the next stages of protecting all that and making sure that it doesn't come out. So let's get on with it, guys, and see what this thing looks like when it's done. Right, there we go, guys. I've got to be careful how I pick it up and move it and whatnot, but as you can see I've now got all the lightweight filler on. Now when it comes to this part, don't be a tight butt, put a fair amount on. You need to cover up the gel that's damaged and gone completely. Once you sand it down, you'll find any imperfections or bits that you may have missed, or you know, parts that may need a second coat. You will need to put probably a second bit of filler on to fill those little gaps that you've missed. But once you've got it on, put it to one side, leave it overnight, let the filler go off hard. I know it goes off pretty quick, this stuff, but it's always best to leave it overnight and let it go off hard. So we'll leave it for 12 hours or so, and then we'll come back to it tomorrow and we can start sanding it down. Right, here we are again. Now, I did say we'll leave it overnight, or like 12 hours or so, but it's now 7 days later, and the reason it's like 7 days later is because I'm a moron and I get to do other things in between. But we're coming back to it now. This has gone off really hard, and it's at the point now where I can sand it quite safely without it causing any more damage. So I'm going to put you in time-lapse mode, and then I'll sand it all down and make a complete mess, and then I'll show you what it looks like after I've sanded it. Right, let's get on. Right, let's just try and keep everything clean as much as you can. There's nothing worse than working with a dirty workbench. Right, the most of that was just done with 60 grit sandpaper just to get rid of the worst of it. And although it's down quite nicely, as I'll show you in a second, there's still bits there that I've just missed brushing it down. So I'll need to go over it again. So, put that to one side. I'm still here. So, let me just quickly show you. You can see there I've took the worst of it off. Okay, but there's still slight indentations. I don't know if the camera will pick it up. That needs to be rubbed down a bit more. But I'm going to go down the route of trying to get them down as best as I can. And then what I'm going to do then is go over it with this, which is a real fine sanding pad, but I'm going to use water. Yes, that is warm water because I'm a girl and I don't like it cold, and it actually goes on better when it's warm. So I'll crack on with that. You'll see me swap over from the 60 grit to the pad and try and get it as smooth as possible, and then I'll come back to you out of time-lapse mode and show you what the end result is before I spray it. Okay, that's stage 2 of the process done. Still a long way to go, but as you can see, all of that is now relatively smooth. It's not perfect, you know, I can still feel a few little lumps and bumps there, but to be honest with you, it's a hell of a lot better than what it was. And all these bits up here, although it still looks like there's holes there, they're actually filled in and they're starting to come out quite nice now. So next stage is to give it a coat of just over the bits that I've just done. Give it a coat of PVA glue, literally PVA glue, right? Because PVA glue not only gives a good finish, but it's also quite flexible as well, and it doesn't crack. You can do it plain, straight if you want, it just takes longer to cure, or you can thin it down like 50% water, because PVA glue is a water-based glue. You can actually thin it down 50%. So I'm going to brush some PVA on this now, and then I'm going to hit it with a heat gun to help dry the process up, and then I'll be able to go over it again with some more sanding. But it's starting to come along already, guys, so let's crack on. One thing I will say, which I forgot to mention before, disclaimer, don't get too close and go all nuclear with a heat gun. If you get too close, fiberglass does distort. So keep it at least sort of like 6 to 8 inches away, constantly moving it over the whole surface. Don't hold it like that right next to the surface and go over it slowly, because your canopy is just going to go and melt. So keep it about 6 to 8 inches away on the highest setting, which is that, off. Keep it on its highest setting, but keep it about 6 to 8 inches away and go all the way around it. But never stay in one spot for any more than 2 seconds, if that, because if you do, it softens up the fiberglass and it'll start to sink into the table, and before you know it, you'll have a puddle. So just beware of that, guys, when it comes to doing this, okay? Another thing that's a dead giveaway, if you're getting too warm, at some point you'll start to smell the gel coat. If you're not actually physically holding it and feeling it go soft, you'll start to smell the gel coat, and it's quite a putrid smell. If you start to get a whiff of that, then just stop the heat gun, let it cool down for 5 minutes and then carry on, or move to another part of the canopy that's cold. Just don't keep working in the same place all the time, because if you do that, like I say, you're going to end up with a puddle of fiberglass on your bench, and you don't want that, because it's a pain in the butt to get off, alright? Okay guys, off camera, because I didn't think you want to see any more of that crap. I'll give it another sanding down with the 60 grit sandpaper. I've also gone over it again with the dry pad all over this time to smooth it all out. A lot of the imperfections that were there that were really getting to me, practically gone. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to coat the whole fuselage, scratch that. I'm going to coat the whole canopy with white PVA glue, hit it with a heat gun, let it set, go over it again once more with the dry sanding pad, get it all dead smooth, and then once I've done that, it should be ready for a coat of paint, an undercoat of paint. So let's go time-lapse mode again. There we go, fellas and fellarettes. I'm going to let that sit for 10 minutes, let it cure. As you can see, I've brushed a complete coat of PVA all over that, and even with that on, it's already gone smooth. But I'm going to let it cool down because it is still quite warm. Let the PVA, I nearly said paint, PVA go off completely, come back, give it another sand of dry sanding, and then we're ready to paint, and then we'll paint it, which means that I'll put colour on it. Okay, that's been left for 10 minutes. Canopy's completely cool, still kept its form, and the glue is completely dry. So now I can give it a dry sand, and then we'll go into paint mode. There you have it, all smooth, all looking, well, it's not really looking nice, is it? It's looking a bit pants, but it is really strong. I mean, it's got its rigidity back, rigidity back, it's got harder, and it is really flexible, as you can see. All the gel coat that was peeling and cracked has now been filled. All the small cracks the PVA has sealed, and that is now a strong canopy. I'm still going to fiberglass it inside to give it some extra strength. I could just paint it with PVA glue, but I think I'm going to give it a coat of fiberglass, more so around the nose here where it was a bit thinner, to stiffen it up a bit more, but I'll do that last. I'm going to go and set the camera up outside where it's actually blown a hoolie, and it's getting quite late. It's about 8 o'clock in the evening, so I'm hoping I can get this done quick and get this painted before it gets too damp. In no way do these people sponsor me, but these are the paints that I use. They're called Montana Gold range. They're gold because they're in a gold can. But the tops of the lids, they tell you what colour it is that you're buying. And these things are brilliant. I have painted many a big model with these paints, and I tell you what, they're designed for graffiti artists, okay? They're not expensive. This size can from Graph City, again, not sponsoring me, so I'm not in any way advertising them. Graph City, if you're listening, please do advertise. But anyway, Graph City, you can get a can of this for £5.25, and they go a long way. And like I say, 9 times out of 10, you can give whatever it is you're painting one coat, and that'll be enough. So I'm going to set the camera up outside, get the canopy hung up, and I'll give it a rattle. Okay. And there we have it, guys. From pile of poop to an almost completely new looking canopy. There are still imperfections on there, which is why I wanted to give it a coat of paint. It shows up any imperfections that you've left or that you may not have seen, but it needed a coat of paint for them to stick out, and I found some down at the bottom here where the worst of the filling was done. But as a whole, what do you reckon? It's not looking bad, is it? Considering it was smacked up nearly a month ago when I crashed the helicopter. This is like a brand new. Well, it's going to be like a brand new canopy when it's finished. And I've just scratched the paint with my nail because I'm a twat, but it doesn't matter because it's got to be sanded down again anyway. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this. This is part 2. There is going to be another part where I'm going to be finishing it, and I'm going to be putting colour onto it and giving it a new design which will be unique to the Specter700. There'll be no Specter700s out there that will look like this when it's finished, because it's my own design. What it's going to look like, I don't know, because I'm still trying to work it out, but I've got a rough idea what colours I'm going to be using. But yeah, so that's it now for this one. And then, like I say, I will be doing another video which I'll hopefully do tomorrow. Whether I'll upload it tomorrow, I don't know, because it's going to take a couple of days I think to get this done. But I hope you enjoyed that so far, guys. Stick with me. Do like the video, do subscribe, put any comments down there if you've got any suggestions regarding me doing stuff like this in the future. If you want me to do more things like this, I'm happy to do so. Just let me know in the comments. But like I say, click the like, subscribe, the notification button, and join me again for the next video when we'll be putting colour to this and finishing the whole helicopter off. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you soon.